In this video, I'm going to use geometry nodes to create this smoke that is coming out of this chimney. Let's get rid of the default cube and go to geometry nodes. Over here, I will use a Bezier curve. So this is the top view of the curve. On your number pad, you can press 7 to go to the top view directly. And this is the geometry node setup for this curve. So first I will use a resample curve node. This node can be used to increase or decrease the resolution of the curve. So I'll be using 50 points, and this is how it will look like if you use only 5 points. Higher the number of points, the smoother your curve will be. Next, let's use set position and place it between resample curve and output. Here we will pass some noise texture to the offset, and that will help in adding some random motion to this Bezier curve. Here we go, our noise texture. Let's use the 4D noise texture, and over here we can pass scene time to the W parameter. You can also use a multiply node with scene time, and it can help in decreasing or increasing the speed of the animation. So as you can see, if you play the animation, our curve is randomly moving on its position. However, it has moved away from its original position when it was not connected to the noise texture. We will get to that later. Let's use a combine XYZ node, and we will try to keep the motion of the curve on Y coordinate only. So the curve will move only in the Y and Z plane. Let's connect it to the Y coordinate, and then we can connect the output to the offset. Okay, so now the curve is moving along the Y axis only. Let's add a vector subtract node, and we will subtract it from 0.5 for the Y coordinate. It will help in bringing the Bezier curve back to the original position, that is at the cross section of XYZ axis. As you can see, our curve is at the center position, and it is moving randomly thanks to the noise texture. Now I will use Spline Parameter node, and connect its output factor to this multiply vector node, and the output of subtract node is passed to the second input of multiply node. So here you can see one end of our Bezier curve is fixed, it is not moving, and this is what we want in our smoke animation. So the source of smoke, at that point the smoke shouldn't move here and there, right? It should move once it goes a bit higher, and that's what we are trying to achieve. So at the source we don't have to make our curve move, and this is what we are trying to achieve with the help of this spline parameter. Here I'll go to the edit mode of this curve and bring the left end of the curve and make it horizontal or parallel to the x-axis. So now you can see the motion is smoother than before. and the left end is not moving that much. Now let's try to rotate this curve, make it upright. For that we can use transform geometry node. Here we can make the y coordinate or y rotation angle to minus 90 degree. There you go. Our curve is upright now, and let's shift it upwards by 1 meter. Alright, so now our curve is vertical and it's also moving as desired. So you can have another look at this graph and the nodes that we have used so far. We will add a few more nodes to this graph, and you can change the scale in noise texture to change the degree of motion in this curve. Now the next objective is to transfer this motion of this Bezier curve to a plane, 2D plane, and that 2D plane will be our smoke. For that we will use curve to mesh node. This node converts a curve to a mesh as per its name, and for profile curve we will use curve line. Here we will make the starting x coordinate to 0.1, and you can see that our Bezier curve has been replaced by a 2D plane. If you play the animation, it will move exactly the same way as our curve was moving. We will again use the spline parameter to change the width of this curve. As you can see, the width of the plane is narrow at the bottom thanks to the spline parameter. And there is one more node called float curve. So this node can help you in changing the shape of your ribbon or plane with more flexibility. So the idea is to have a narrow width at the bottom or at the source of the smoke, and at the top as well it should have less width as compared to the middle part of the smoke. That's entirely up to you. You can shape your smoke the way you want. Let me just rearrange the nodes a little bit. So here in float curve node, you can drag these points also if you click, and you can add a new point. So here you can see that the width of the plane is more at the center as compared to the either ends. You can adjust the width as per your taste. One more thing, we can see that the motion is quite jittery, especially at the starting position, right? So what we can do, we can fix the first 2 points of this curve, Bezier curve, with the help of index node and greater than Boolean node. So what it will do, it will uh, not allow the first 2 points of this curve to move at all, and rest of the curve will be moving as per the noise texture. So there we have our index node coupled with greater than node, and as the first point the index value is 0, and here I'm using b as 1. So that means all the points having index values greater than 1 or all the points with index value other than 0 and 1 will be able to move, and 0th point or the first point won't be moving at all. So now you can see the problem of that jittery shifting of the curve while in motion, that is solved now. Now let's try to add some material or texture to this plane. You can use set material node, create a new texture, give it a name, let's say smoke. In the node, select the same material. Now let's go to the shader editor. We'll get rid of the principal BSDF and rather use transparent BSDF with emission BSDF. For that, we'll use mix shader and add both transparent BSDF and emission BSDF to it. One more thing, you can go to the side panel settings in texture, and over here change the render method to blended. Now I'll also add a color ramp and connect it to the factor input of mix shader. Also connected to the emission node. Let's use another noise texture and connect it to the color ramp. So now you can see in our plane the texture has some noise. You can change the values in the color ramp and also play the animation. I think it looks better now. So here I'm not trying to achieve the realistic smoke, right? So you can say that it's a stylized smoke or anime style smoke. So now in the layout tab, we will use a background image. And we can import that image using the mesh plane option. Simply browse your image, select it, and it will appear in the viewport like this. Just clear the location, rotate it as per the position of our smoke. Before rendering this image, you have to make sure that uh, it is self illuminating. Otherwise, you won't be able to see it in render view like this. So what we'll do, we will pass the color option to the emission color input and change the value to